Peace. Shalom. Chapter 26 of the Isis Thesis. The final chapter. The path on Earth back to the early universe. Where the road from Orion dead ends. The path the deceased follows through the Earth's cell can be traced along the Nile River on ancient maps of Egypt. The journey begins at Abydos, the site of the famous Egyptian gap of entry into the Duat. From here, the deceased proceeds north along the winding waterway of the Nile River to the Sais near Giza, the site where Osiris is lodged. Then he exits into the mouth of the Nile and opens into the Mediterranean Sea. That is, the primordial waters of the cosmos and starry Nut. At this point, we can reconsider the meaning of the opening of the mouth ceremony that emphasizes the importance of repeating words and ceremonies 4 times. The deceased is true of voice, Mak Haru, and has been found worthy at the judgment of Crow and CI protein levels. Because of his true status, the deceased has opened the mouth 4 times. First, he opened the mouth by merging with the Lambda Sun God. Second, he opened the mouth of the Duat by entering the Earth cell. Third, he opened the mouth of Osiris by excising the prophet and activating the hard species. Fourth, he opened the mouth of the Duat to enter the early universe. He has broken iron 4 times, as the pyramid texts advise. From the QMBH perspective, the opening of the mouth ceremony with its emphasis on 4 times signifies the movement of the deceased across 4 horizons. He passes through the black hole's outer event horizon into the inner event horizon, then through the white hole's outer and inner event horizons. When the Earth opens its mouth for the deceased, the mouth is a reference to the mouth of a wormhole, which is comprised of a black hole and white hole. Put simply, the deceased journeys through 4 miles or horizons to emerge in the early universe. This quantum wormhole magnetic field configuration depends on the deceased as the polymerase complex plowing straight through the DNA instead of circulating or transcribing it. Thus, plowing straight through the DNA is not the template for the topological condensation of ordinary matter or human beings. It is the template for a movement of genetic information between remotely related species, a horizontal gene transfer of eukaryotic DNA mediated by a virus. Still, mysteries remain about this act. Iron, a silvery white transition metal with its 26 proteins and 30 neutrons, is a necessary element in magnetic fields and DNA. It is essential for humans as it is the chief constituent of hemoglobin, which carries oxygen in blood vessels. In the atmosphere, iron-containing particles scattered sunlight back into the space and cause cooling. Oliver Manuel, a professor of nuclear chemistry, believes iron, not hydrogen, is the sun's most abundant element. Although some of the sun's hydrogen heat moves to its surface, Manuel believes that most of the heat comes from its exploded supernova core, which still generates energy within the iron-rich interior. Astrophysicists assert that iron is created in the center of massive stars and expelled when the stars explode as supernovae. Iron and other elements then mix with interstellar matter and form new stars and planetary systems. Recently, Professor Gunther Hasinger and Dr. Stephanie Cosmosa of the Max Planck Institute and Dr. Norbert Schautel of the European Space Agency made a strange discovery. Using the European X-ray satellite XMN Newton, they observed a young quasar containing a 3 times larger iron fraction than our own solar system, which is much, much older. This quasar was observed at a time when the universe was only 1.5 billion years old, whereas our sun formed 9 billion years after the Big Bang. The scientists determined an iron abundance in the central region of the quasar. This is unusual because the creation of iron takes at least 1.5 billion years to produce the metal abundances of our sun. The scientists then theorized that a mysterious iron factory may exist in the early universe. One is forced to conclude that the primordial iron is essential to all life forms, cosmic and human. As Isis states about the knitting together or translation to protein of the deceased, this iron shall be bought for him. Pyramid Text 669. And the deceased has stellar iron. And that's in the coffin text 666. Scientists theorize that the early universe was composed of hydrogen, helium, and lithium. These primordial gases generated giant stars that live about 3 million years and then exploded, spewing carbon, oxygen, and iron into the void at great speeds. The first supernova explosions were violent and seeded the cosmos with metals. Near the end of their lives, the stars searched for energy, burning carbon and oxygen to form heavier and heavier elements until they reach iron, an element that cannot be fused to create energy. The supernovae then exploded, thrusting up to 100 solar masses of iron into the interstellar medium. Some scientists think that the highest energy cosmic rays originate in other galaxies distant from our Milky Way. However, researchers of the University of Chicago and Los Alamos National Laboratory challenged the idea, suggesting that these ultra-high energy events originate in our galaxy. They propose that these events are due to iron nuclei accelerated from young, strongly magnetic neutron stars. These iron nuclei traverse the supernova envelope without significant losses. According to Olento, these cosmic ray protons of iron ejected with energies 10 to the 20th eV reach the Earth after some diffusion through the galactic and halo magnetic field, but they do not point out their source. Surrounding the young stars in the constellation Orion is gas and dust of carbon, silicon, and iron produced by earlier stars. The stars in Orion span the entire range of star types, so perhaps the source of cosmic rays on Earth is from Orion. In the quantum Egyptian afterlife, the deceased accepts Orion's staff of rank and journeys on the guided diffusion path to eternity through the black hole Duat. But remember, there is no path because the point particle is spread out over the non-locality region. If the ultra-high energy iron nuclei that arrive at Earth are from Orion, then the cosmic ray is actually a line extending from Orion to Earth, because one cannot define a point in space in a quantum vacuum, since its state is all of space. The pharaohs would have had us believe that we can assess this non-local road from Orion to Earth, an ultra-high energy wave of core elements, by going to the polar cusp or true north. This energization and magnetic alignment, this attunement, as the philosopher Heidegger would say, guarantees to us a passage to those that we ourselves are not, and access the being that we ourselves are. Here, the geometry of our universe is flat or two-dimensional, the great plane of iron on which your gods stand stretches before us. So it seems there could be an invisible magnetic field stretched across the cosmos, an iron-rich network or bloodline uniting an invisible starry every being a million cubits tall in a living universe. As Dr. Frost would say, whoever ignores the elements' cores, their energy and quality, cannot command in the spirits of land. Epilogue. Even though hieroglyph translation and wall drawings depict Egyptian ideas dating to the pyramid text, the funerary corpus as a whole is unified in its presentation of scientific thought. In fact, this scientific knowledge becomes more precise as it evolves from the old kingdom to the new kingdom, equaling our 21st century understanding of how our universe operates. And yet, many outstanding questions remain. I urge scientists to review these texts using the expanded 870 signs to examine the many faces of the Egyptian legacy. If knowledge is power in the afterlife, as the pharaohs attest, then we can be consoled by the wisdom of the deceased, who proclaims to me belongs yesterday, I know tomorrow. Outstanding questions. E. coli RNA polymerase does not transcribe through zDNA. Does polymerase 4 or 5 and Rec-A protein transcribe through zDNA? Question 2. Do the interrelated process of CAMP and CRP, the lac operon, and the SOS response activate the Lux genes, resulting in luminescence and a related reactivation process? Number 3, does phage lambda undergo a transition from the hexagonal to a star-shaped configuration similar to phage T4? Question number 4. In light of the genetics in this thesis related to phage lambda in E. coli, what is the genetic significance of 12 caverns, the numerical value, and the images in the Book of Caverns? Number 5. How does ferromagnetism, symmetry, breaking and temperature contribute to the deceased's long-range order of transformation from fermion to boson. Number 6, as dark energy, the energy may represent anti-gravity. The inversion of classical gravity is a hot Planck length early universe of unified forces. Are the 4 forces in the classical world simply an inversion of the 4 unified forces in the Planck length world? Number 7, after death, human consciousness resides in our immortal part, our genetic essence. What is it? Number 8, what other mechanism in our magnetosphere and our universe are similar to the quantum phenomenon? Number 9, what other scientific knowledge is hidden within the Egyptian signs? Number 10, the Earth and its magnetosphere and the attachment site of the E. coli chromosome surrounded by the cell membrane approximates the string theory idea of a 3-brain wrap around a 3-dimensional sphere. Similarly, the activity of magnetic reconnection in the magnetosphere or break-induced DNA recombination near the cell membrane approximates the string theory idea of a space-time conifold transition that collapses to a massless black hole and then transmutes into a massless particle, such as the deceased's formation to dark energy in a black hole/protein funneling tunnel. Is this evidence of string theory? Did the pharaohs purposely limit the frontiers of the history of ideas by disguising their science and religious literature, or did they have a scientific rationale for keeping their knowledge secret? All right, y'all. Hey, man, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to finish with the Road to Orion, but this brings us to the end of the Isis Thesis. If there's any other little pages y'all want to check out in here, you want me to flip to, we can. But for now, we have a audio copy that we can contribute to the movement. So I'm sure somebody come out with a better one later on down the line, but if they don't, you got something to move along with. Thank you, y'all. Appreciate it. Peace.